One of the most difficult things to do for any library marketer is to make the case to their senior leadership that they need to be doing more of something or less of something. I have a viewer with a very interesting dilemma, and although her dilemma may not be yours, I'm still going to share some tips that'll help everybody when you're approaching senior leadership to make a case. That's ahead in this episode of the Library Marketing Show. Hi, everyone. I'm Angela Hursh, and I'm the person behind the blog, superlibrarymarketing.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my blog. You can do so just by heading on over there and clicking on the subscribe tab. I also really love getting questions like the one that's going to be answered today. And you can do that. You can ask a question for a future episode by clicking on Contact Angela. But first, before we get into today's topic, I want to give out kudos. This is where we highlight something that a library is doing that I think needs to be talked about, shared, and celebrated. Today's kudos is going to Rock Island Public Library. I'm going to put a link down below to a landing page they have on their website, which is called Community Information, which sounds really vague and not that interesting. However, this page is full of the type of stuff that libraries do when people come in and need help with things that they're maybe not certain that they can go talk to anybody else about. Like there's a number for the suicide prevention hotline, for nonprofit women's shelters. Now, most of the people who will need this help probably don't have access to the internet, but this is helpful for others in the community who might be trying to hand out resources like the community partners for the library, as well as library staff. If you know, you can just go to this page on your own library's website and find help for your patrons. It's going to make it a lot easier for staff, and it's going to be much more helpful to the patrons. I just think it's a really great idea. So kudos to Rock Island Public Library. All right, today's topic is actually a question from a viewer, and this person, who I'm going to not name their name or their library, but they wrote in and they said, how can I convince my leadership team that we need to be utilizing our social media platforms that they ghosted a year ago? That is really interesting. I actually have never heard of a library completely ghosting all social media platforms. I confess I went to their website and to social media just to check, and she's right. They are not posting anything and haven't for more than a year. Like I said in the intro, you probably are posting on social media, but maybe you think it's time to switch platforms or to stop doing as much posting on social media or change the things you post to social media. How do you build a case for your leadership for that? That's what we're going to talk about today. The most important thing to do is to find out why your leadership is making that decision, and then to try to address those concerns. So for example, if your leadership is saying, we just don't have time to do that, you can build a case, maybe start small with one platform, maybe post once a week, and then build the case that you are engaging with your community and show the insights from your dashboard. Or let's say that you want to do something on social media, or maybe just some other type of marketing, and your leadership says, we tried that before and we didn't see the results that we wanted. Consistency and strategy really matter. I don't have to tell you that, but we do need to remind our senior leadership of that. So if you have stopped doing something and you want to start it again, we have to explain and create a strategy for that platform or for that piece of marketing that shows that you have put some thought into why this is an important way to reach your community and how you are strategically going to use that tactic or channel to reach your community. And the third thing you can do is reach out to your fellow library marketers and ask them for advice. What are they doing in that channel that you want to start or stop? And what have the results been? You can get some great and valuable insight that you can take back to your senior leadership. I talk about this all the time, how I think that one of the best things about working in libraries is that we share ideas and we help strengthen each other by sharing those ideas. And social media is one of those places where when other libraries have fun or have effective marketing that happens on social media, you can mimic it and get the same result with your community. So those are my big 3 pieces of advice. But one more thing to remember is to be persistent. When I worked back at the library in Cincinnati, I wanted to start a blog because I was pretty sure that was a great channel to reach our audience. And it took me 5 years of presenting data and presenting strategy to convince my senior leadership to allow us to do that. And now the blog is one of the best parts of the Cincinnati Library website. And as I mentioned, this is a great place to talk about the things that have worked for other libraries in social media. I'm sure my other viewers have some tips for this particular library marketer. If you have a piece of advice that you want to share to help her make the case to go back to social media, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. That's it for this episode of the Library Marketing Show, but my channel is full of other tips for library marketing. If you want to learn more, head to this next video. I'll make sure to meet you there.